How many of the 3 behaviors I am about to name did you do today? The higher it is, the more of your power you are losing. 1. Someone got under your skin and you just laughed it off like nothing happened. 2. You were right about something, but you backed off so the room wouldn't get tense, undermining your own position. 3. Someone asked you for something that deserved a clear no, and you said, "Sure, I'll do it anyway," regardless of every part of you didn't want to. None of this makes you a bad person. If anything, the reverse. You could be a considerate, sympathetic, congenial person. But all 3 indicate the same thing. Your need to be liked is outranking your need to be respected. And that's what this video is going to change. Just sit with that for a moment. Imagine the toughest relationship or work situation in your life right now. Who really has the power in that situation? Usually the answer is you. You're the one doing the most bending, the most explaining, the most compensating. And by the end of this video, you'll see exactly how that balance shifts. 1. Hook. Most people don't lose because they don't have talent. They lose from their addiction to being liked. Let it sit for a second. It feels good to be wanted. It is safe. It's socially intelligent. It even feels grown up. But being liked is not the same as being respected. And the moment you confuse the two, you quietly hand over the steering wheel of your life to people who are more strategic than you. Nice people smooth things over. Nice people explain themselves again and again, even when they don't have to. Nice people soften their tone so as not to make anyone uncomfortable, rephrase their sentences, and trim their words. Nice people apologize for things that don't need an apology, not for bumping into a table, but for something as small as an awkward silence in a room. Strategic people do something different. They observe the tension, not avoid it. They let the silence stretch rather than rush in to fill it. They let discomfort work its magic. And here's the thing, no one wants to say out loud. Most niceness is not virtue. It is fear dressed up as morality. Fear of disapproval, fear of conflict, fear of misunderstanding, fear of losing. You say to yourself you're being grown up, but what if you're just avoiding the friction? Good people don't make tension, strategic people do it. That's the line right there. If I sat in a room and watched you for 10 minutes, I wouldn't need your resume. I don't need your degree. I wouldn't even need your references. I would just watch how quickly you adapt to other people, how fast you rush in to fill the silence, how frequently you soften your words, how fast you defend yourself when challenged. And from that alone, I could measure the real power you carry, independent of your title, independent of your position. So the real question is, who benefits from your niceness? You or the people who push you, test your limits, and quietly profit from how predictable you are? Because predictability is other people's comfort. Once they know exactly what you're going to do, it's easy to control you. Caution comes with unpredictability. Care creates respect. Let me be very clear about what this is not. This has nothing to do with meanness. It's not about being aggressive. It has nothing to do with being cold or unfriendly or anything like that. This is behavioral calibration. Here is the passage from moral thinking to strategic thinking. You don't have to change your personality. You have to adjust your positioning. You can be just who you are, but the way you move changes. 500 years ago, an Italian statesman wrote something most people still find hard to accept today. Power does not answer to good intentions. It's about perception, access, and timing. In Niccolo Machiavelli's The Prince, one of the recurring themes is that a ruler's judgment about when to show strength is far more important than showing it at all times. Control perception, control access, control timing, and you control the frame. And it's not the loudest voice in the room that controls the frame. It's the one that speaks at the exact right moment. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 psychological shifts that take you from approval seeker to position controller. These are not surface-level tips. They're structural improvements in the way you move, the way you talk, the way you respond, the way you build your reputation. 5 upgrades that beef up your leverage with not an ounce of aggression. 5 shifts that distinguish the agreeable from the influential. 5 ways to take nice and make it calculated, intentional, and strategically dangerous. Let me briefly explain the order in which. When most people hear the word power, they immediately think of advice like set boundaries or just say no. That advice doesn't work because it never gets to the real problem underneath. The real problem is the addiction to approval, the avoidance of discomfort, and the loss of control of timing. Until those 3 are solved, just say no is an empty slogan, because you're still operating from the same fear underneath, just with different words. 1A, in the beginning. Why this video is unique. Before we go any further, I want to be clear. This is not a motivational video. It's a behavior change guide. In the rest of this video, you'll see 5 sections. In each one, we will first shatter the old limiting belief that has been holding you back. Then, we'll go through 2 concrete scenarios from different areas of life: work, family, friendship. So the idea is never abstract. Then we'll examine the simple, unobtrusive mechanism behind the principle actually working. Then we'll see what happens when this principle is abused. Because every powerful idea has a dark side when taken too far. And the goal of this video is not to make you cold and manipulative. And finally, we'll finish each section with a small, concrete exercise you can try out today. The order is not accidental. One thing makes another possible. You cannot release approval until you release comfort-seeking. You cannot control your timing until you relinquish approval. You don't get to choose who's worth your energy without controlling your timing. Without all that, it's impossible to win through patience because you'll still be reacting to every little trigger along the way. One more point I want to make clear. These 5 shifts are not a personality change. You are still the same person with same values, same relationships, same sense of humor. What changes is how you defend those values. Until now, you may have been using your niceness as armor, not to protect yourself, but to avoid conflict. After this video, your kindness will remain. It'll be a choice now, not a reflex. 2. The 5 changes. Shift 1. Don't look for comfort, look for clarity. There's a quiet addiction most people never confront. It is not addiction to pleasure. It's not a money addiction. It is an addiction to psychological comfort, the need for conversations that flow easily, the desire for a room to be restful. Each exchange should end on a note of no tension. That instinct feels developed. It feels responsible, but it chips away at your leverage quietly. When you put comfort before positioning, you train yourself to shrink. You don't make statements that could confront someone. You blunt truths that should remain sharp. You fear friction and therefore fear setting a boundary. And each time you do, you reinforce a dangerous pattern. You prioritize emotional safety over strategic advantage. The old gospel. Tension is bad and must be resolved immediately. The truth is that discomfort is not a threat, it is a tool. Hierarchy shows the tension. It shows confidence. It shows who has the guts to be able to stand up when it's needed. Most people will jump in to fix an interaction the second it gets a little uncomfortable. They laugh, they explain, they overcompensate, they apologize, they water down their own stance. And in doing so, they lower their own status. The one that is consistent and keeps their cool during tension is the one that sets the temperature in the room. Let's be honest. When someone comes right at you, what's your first reaction? You go straight to defense? Do you start explaining right away? You make peace? Or do you pause, maintain eye contact, and let the quiet hang just long enough to make your presence known? Psychological safety is often a code word for not taking risk, but real leverage is gained by taking measured risk. When you allow a moment of friction to be without rushing to fix it, something shifts. People reevaluate you. They begin to watch what they say, Not because you raised your voice, not because you got aggressive, but because you didn't cave in. Scenario 1. You're attacked directly in a meeting. It's possibly unfair. Your instinct is to defend yourself right away, to begin explaining, to smooth it over. Breathe instead. Keep eye contact. Let the silence continue for a few seconds, long enough to be felt. Then answer quietly, clearly, without overloading it with emotion. Scenario 2. Your friend calls everything urgent all the time and pushes your own schedule aside, and you run to do it every time. Don't say, "Okay, I'll take care of it," right away. Wait a few seconds. "Let me see what I can do." Buys you time with a neutral line. The silence allows the other person to recalibrate how urgent their request really is, even if you say nothing at all. Misuse warning. It doesn't mean not listening to real feedback or not caring about someone who really needs help. Having a boundary does not mean you don't care. The point is not to avoid solving every friction right away. If there is a real need or a fair criticism, you still listen to it. But you don't panic when you do it. Mini exercise. The next time someone gets under your skin today, count to 5 before responding. Just count. See and feel what is going on in you in that 5 seconds. What impulse is making you to speak immediately? Once this becomes a habit, here's what you will find. Discomfort is not nearly as dangerous as you thought. Your mind gets used to it, your body gets used to it, and eventually that 5-second pause becomes a natural reflex. People don't have an automatic soften, fix, explain reflex behind every sentence anymore, so they can't predict exactly what you'll say. It doesn't make you colder, it makes you more steady. Shift 2. Postpone approval. Human actions are more dictated by the craving for immediate gratification than by logic. Smiles, nods, a reassuring, "You're right." It's a human impulse, but once it takes over, you become a puppet. Approval in the short term feels like a reward. It takes the edge off it. It makes you feel part of something, but the dependence on approval makes you malleable. Malleable people are easy to position. When you need positive feedback right away, your choices get compromised. You soften your statements so as not to get pushback. You are. You change your mind to suit the room. You don't want to cross someone in a position of authority. You gauge your words by how they'll come across, not by whether they match what you really want. Validation cages are not the place to grow influence. The old belief is, everybody has to be happy with you immediately. The truth is, respect often arrives late. It is rarely easy to be an authority at first. Speak with conviction, and you won't have everyone applauding at once. When you set a precedent, not everybody is going to like it. You won't bend for immediate harmony, and some people will feel challenged. This is not a loss, it is a filter. Separating the people who are really with you from the people who only wanted a little piece. The need for instant approval adds a predictability. Other people very soon learn how to deal with you. They learn what makes you smile, what makes you quiet, what makes you pull away. And once you see that pattern, your leverage goes down. You shift your posture when you go offline for instant validation. You stop looking at faces for reassurance. You stop changing your tone just to get agreement. You stop measuring your worth by how quickly people respond to you, and you start measuring it by your positioning instead. Scenario 1. You are defending a status quo at work, and a colleague is visibly irritated. You want to soften, back down, over-explain immediately. Then stand your ground. State your reasoning once, clearly and calmly. Then stop. Don't keep redefending it. Let the discomfort dwell. Scenario 2. For the first time, you finally draw a long overdue line in the sand with your family, and it causes some tension, maybe an awkward quiet dinner. Do not hurry to smooth things over, to make everyone happy again. Let time do its job. You don't need everyone to get you at that exact time. Misuse warning. Just because you delay approval doesn't mean you don't care what other people think. You still hear feedback, you just stop linking your behavior to the need to satisfy it right away. This isn't about being an ass or shutting people out. The objective is not to stop listening. It's to stop depending on the reaction. Mini exercise. Have a clear opinion today and let it stand. Don't rush in to fix the other person's reaction. Notice the discomfort, but don't run from it. Just watch and see what happens. The more you do this, the more you'll see something else. As your need for approval drops, your decisions begin to change. In a meeting, instead of thinking, "How will this land?" you start thinking, "Is this correct?" It looks like a small mental shift, but over time, it fundamentally changes the way you speak, what you defend, and who you stand behind. Shift 3. Make your own schedule. Most people see being able to answer quickly as a sign of intelligence, confidence, and dominance. In fact, instant reactions often show impulsiveness. When you fire back as soon as someone triggers you, you show exactly which buttons can be pushed. When the pressure is on and you respond without a second thought, you lose the tempo. Timing is everything. Who controls timing controls direction. Impulsive responses are predictable. They show your triggers. They tell you where to push. They tell you precisely where you can be affected. If someone knows they can get an instant reply out of you, they know they can lead you. This pattern is broken by a pause. A moment of waiting produces uncertainty, and uncertainty changes the psychological balance. The other person starts to wonder, "What are you thinking?" They review their own position. They chew on what they said. The silence becomes a mirror, forcing them to sit with their own words. Strategic delay does 3 things at the same time. First, it allows you space to evaluate. You observe the situation from above it, not within it. You observe tone, intent, subtext. Second, it throws psychological pressure outward. When you don't answer right away, the other person begins to fill the silence themselves, and doubt grows, curiosity grows, sometimes even unease grows. Third, it enhances your poise. Good timing shows internal stability and that you're not easily flustered. Most people work on reflex. They respond to texts immediately. They reply to critique immediately. They instantly defend themselves. They make up their minds on the spot. Because they are moving at that speed, they are easy to predict. A pause is hard to read. This doesn't mean saying nothing. It means choosing when to speak. That is, to resist the urge to relieve the tension as soon as it arises. That is, giving moments room to breathe. Scenario 1. Someone is trying to bait you with a provocative message, obviously expecting an instant response, and you don't shoot straight back, you sit on it, an hour maybe, or overnight. Then you answer with a clear head and say what needs to be said without bringing the emotional baggage with it. Scenario 2. Someone in a meeting unfairly criticizes you, perhaps in front of everyone. You don't clap back right away, you say nothing for a few seconds, hold eye contact, and then speak calmly and clearly. That measured delivery is so much more powerful than any zinger. Everyone in the room can feel it. Misuse warning. This is not an excuse not to have necessary conversations. The difference is avoidance versus choice. You still say what needs to be said, you just choose the time. This is not about procrastinating all things. It is about understanding which moment truly deserves a response. A delay is not leaving someone hanging for weeks. It's negligence. We're talking about a pause in the minutes or hours, not a permanent silence. Mini exercise. If you get an intense first reaction to something controversial today, don't send it right away. Write it. Don't send it. Only send it if it still needs to be said. Chances are, what you'll write will look different from your first draft. Come back to it later. The first thing you'll notice when you begin managing your own timing is that the behavior of those around you will change. When the quick response they hoped for doesn't materialize, the ones trying to incite you retreat. Provocation only works if there is an instant response. The instant you stop giving an instant response, the provocation loses its meaning. Shift 4. Choose kindness. We were taught to be unlimited in kindness. that generosity should be constant, that patience should be endless, that understanding should be automatic. Compassion, of course, has its real value. But indiscriminate generosity ruins authority. If you treat everyone the same, no matter how they behave, you remove hierarchy, you take away consequence, you flatten your own values. If you are generous without measure, you lessen your worth with others. If your time, energy, and support are available to anyone at any time, then they are no longer scarce. And scarcity is what gives weight to value. If someone knows that you will always be supportive, always forgiving, always accommodating, they stop treating your support as something earned. It is anticipated, and expectations lose their edge. The old belief is that to be a good person is to give everyone the same support in every circumstance. The truth is this: your time, your effort, and your focus are limited resources. Being intentional about where you invest them makes you more valuable and more respected. Your encouragement means something when it's deliberate. Patience under certain conditions commands respect. When you save your support for people who meet your standards, it becomes a force. This is not about coldness, it's about calibration. You have to carefully choose who gets your time, your attention, your guidance, your empathy. And why is that more important? Kindness is not an automatic. If it is automatic, it's not strategic, it's habit. Those who distribute their energy deliberately reward effort, notice loyalty, and strengthen those people who show discipline. But they don't waste energy on people who violate their boundaries or compromise their standards. When kindness is selective, those around you become conscious of their behavior. They know your time isn't infinite. They know your support is not automatic. They see that you have to meet their standards to get through the door. And that acknowledgement is what breeds respect. Scenario 1. A friend is consistently overstepping your boundaries and breaking their word, and you've modeled the same automatic patience for years, forgiving them each time, showing up each time as they continue to repeat the same pattern. This time, rather than the same warmth, you add in a deliberate distance, not resentment, just less access. You're still nice to them. You just don't drop everything when they ring. Scenario 2. Someone at work never reciprocates your effort. They use your ideas without so much as a thank you, and you keep supporting them anyway. This time, you channel that support to people who really deserve your effort, people who work on your same level. This is not revenge. It's just a redistribution. Misuse warning. It is not about being cold or about punishment. This is not about deliberately making yourself inaccessible so that you can control people. The idea is to consciously decide where to place your energy without putting anyone else down. No drama, no display, just a clarified set of priorities. You don't have to tell someone that you don't care about them anymore. You simply stop giving your time to the relationships that give back and start giving your time to the ones that do. Mini exercise. Today, be aware of who you're supporting. Be honest with yourself. Is it a conscious decision or just an automatic habit? While you are thinking of this, ask yourself one more question. How many times did you show patience to someone who kept crossing your boundaries only because you didn't want to look hard? How many times have you helped someone who never returned the favor because it was too hard to say no? How many times have you let something go that diluted your own value just because you were too afraid of being perceived as rigid? That pattern trains people to expect more of you than they've earned. Selective generosity fixes that imbalance. When someone shows discipline, you reinforce it. When someone shows integrity, you acknowledge it. When someone behaves as per your principles, you invest in them. But when someone disrespects your standards, you withdraw your energy calmly, without hostility, without drama. You give them less access. This is no punishment. It's positioning. Midpoint summary and retention hook. So far, we've discussed 3 subjects: the desire for clarity rather than comfort, withholding approval, and your own timing. In the fourth shift, we then made kindness selective rather than automatic. All four are meant to do the same thing, help you go from being a reactor to a chooser. But the most important part is coming up now, because the four before it are what make the fifth one possible. Shift 5. Win by being patient. Most people want to have every argument settled now, every question answered, every silence filled. That instinct feels responsible, but actually leaves you open to vulnerability. The wish to explain everything right now is a desire for emotional closure. Caring too much about the impression you make is why you explain too much for fear of being misunderstood. If you chase finality, you lose the mystery. Mystery is strength. Basically, it's the same pattern as Shift 1, the need for things to end, resolve, and become clear immediately. But here the problem is a little different. What you're avoiding is not discomfort, but uncertainty. And uncertainty, if used correctly, is one of the most powerful tools you have. Not all statements require explanation. Not every challenge needs a detailed breakdown. Not every raised eyebrow needs a reason. Strategic people know the strength of leaving space. You don't tie up every loose end immediately. You create a kind of psychological weight. The other person continues to think about the interaction long after it's over. They parrot back your words. They can hear how you sound. They wonder what you meant and they speculate. That mental activity increases your mental footprint in their mind. The instant is gone when all of it is instantaneously explained and processed and neutralized. There's nothing left to think. Uncertainty comes from presence. This is not about being vague or lying. The compulsion to overcomplete is simply a failure to recognize that silence can sometimes speak more loudly than excessive clarity. If your decision is questioned, you do not give a long-winded explanation, but a brief, clear, cool, definitive answer. Then you just leave. You don't explain unless you need to. You allow their curiosity to do the work. That restraint changes the whole game. People want you to be transparent to the point of being naked and exposing everything. Total access to your thinking, alleviating their discomfort by explaining yourself fully. You don't need to do that. The less you say, the higher you position yourself. It is a signal of internal security. It shows you don't need outside validation to feel settled. The patient chess player knows the value of waiting for the opponent's mistake, not rushing every move. The same logic is true here. Patience means you realize that time is your friend. Scenario 1. There is a baseless rumor going around about you, perhaps some version of events that makes you look bad. Rather than running around telling everybody what you're not, clearing your name, you let time show what is true. When asked directly, you give a short, clear, calm answer and leave it there. You don't write a defense post on every platform. Scenario 2. Someone steals your idea or your work, perhaps without giving you credit. You don't charge into a fight. You don't call them out in front of everybody. You stay quiet and wait for the right time. Because not every wrong needs to be met head-on. Some reveal themselves as time passes, and your patience outlasts their need for action. Misuse warning. This is not to say never speak out on real injustice. There's calculated inaction, and then there are situations that require direct, immediate action. When a serious boundary has been crossed, when someone is being harmed, waiting is the wrong call. The difference is learning to tell which moments really matter instead of reacting to every little friction. Mini exercise. This week, create one situation where you deliberately wait 24 hours rather than acting immediately. Observe what changes in yourself and in the other person. The most common mistake people make about winning by patience is to confuse it with passivity. Actually, it's the opposite. Patience is an active choice, deciding not to respond when you could respond at any moment. That is not born of weakness, but of knowing precisely where to spend your power. Over time, A certain calm develops around people who operate with patience. Others become more careful, more prepared when talking to them, because they can't predict when the reaction will happen. And that unpredictability is not rudeness or coldness. It's just that the other person has had control taken away from them. 3. The mixed CTA pool. We don't do the same format over and over. We rotate through different ways of engaging. 1. The classic affirmation, "My power is mine." 2. What are the 5 shifts that get you the most? Which are they? Let us know in the comments. 3. Self-assessment. How much silent power did you use today? 1 to 10. 4. The forced choice question. What do you think is harder, to remain silent or not back down? Let us know in the comments. 5. The final CTA. Like, subscribe, close with the final affirmation. This variety prevents repetition fatigue and leads to a richer, more organic discussion in the comments, which sends a stronger signal to the algorithm. 4. Sincerely, you just had 5 structural changes, from comfort to clear, from fast approvals to internal alignment, from impulse to timing, from automatic kindness to conscious investment, from a rush to seal them up to a win through patience. These changes reinforce each other. If one wants clarity, it is easier to be silent. Waiting to approve is easier to control your timing. When you control your timing, it's easier to decide who you give your energy to. And once all that is in place, winning by patience is not a matter of chance, but a matter of course. Don't get me wrong, none of this takes aggression. None of this is meant to be hostile. It doesn't mean you have to be someone you're not. All you need is discipline. Discipline of speech, discipline of timing, discipline of energy, discipline of identity. Everything changes when you stop being nice out of fear and start moving with intention. They can feel it. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to demand respect. Your positioning demands it of you. This can also be seen as a matter of reputation. If you don't define how you are seen, others will define it for you. And when a label sticks, it subtly colors every future encounter. Reputation isn't made in a moment of glory, but a series of impressions and small decisions, how you respond under pressure, and the standards you set versus the standards you let slide. Fewer people know that you can do the pressure test. People who know you don't cross your boundaries so calmly. Those who listen to you more carefully notice deliberate words. None of this is happenstance. It is the effect of your behavior being congruent with the image you actually want to project. And this is where most people get it wrong. They hear something like this, they get inspired, they nod. Then tomorrow they are under pressure and fall right back into old patterns. You don't do that. Change doesn't come from understanding. It comes from repetition. These are not tactics, it's the habits. And habits are only habits through repetition. Ask yourself the 3-word question. What would people who know you describe you as in 3 words? And is that description the authority you really want? If not, today is the day to start fixing it, not with some big explanation, but with the tiny difference you make in your next interaction. Today's first step, control your own timing, the easiest of the 5 to practice. The next time you get triggered, don't immediately respond. Just 5 seconds. Those 5 seconds are when your power is reclaimed. One more thing to keep in mind. These 5 shifts don't have an overnight formula. There will be days when you slip back into old habits, answering too quickly, over-explaining, trying to please everyone. That's how it is. The point is to start over again as soon as you realize it and not beat yourself up about it. Change is not linear. It comes in waves. You can fail one shift today, but stand strong another tomorrow. And remember, you don't have to prove any of this to anybody. This is not about proving a point, winning an argument, or making someone feel bad. You do this because you don't want the control of your life in the hands of people who test you and quietly profit from how predictable you are. Silent power requires no evidence. It is sufficient on its own. If this video made you feel some type of way, then please like, subscribe to the channel, and share with someone that needs it. In the next video, I'm going to go much deeper into one of these 5 shifts: setting boundaries and selective kindness. Stop being nice to fit in. Smart play wins.